Welcome back guys. So in this video we will see that whatever drawback we had in the previous example where we were getting that the shallow copy, how we can change this to the deep copy. Okay, so to change in the deep copy there are a couple of things we need to do. So if you look at the previous example, my class was not implementing clonable interface, it was not implementing. Okay, but what happens is in this class, if you look at, you need to implement the clonable interface. The first thing your custom class should implement, and you have one more custom class, employee test local, right? So you have one more custom class here, employee test local. I just changed the name. So here also this class is present in the same file because I wanted to use in the same class, and yes, I can write two classes in the same Java file. But the thing is, your second class should not be public, it should be default, and this I've explained why it is. And so my this class also now implementing clonable interface. So if you look at here, we are implementing the clonable interface. My child class, the default class is implementing clonable interface, and this is nothing but my bean class. The bean class meaning it will just hold your object data, nothing else. You have two field. Okay, let's make it private. By practice you should write a private because I have getter and setter. Then there is one parameterized constructor, and then we are overriding the clone. So here you know that how to override the clone. Just write clone, control space bar and click on this. Okay, control space bar, click on this. Automatic default implementations of clone will be overridden here, and what happens is you need to cast this clone to your custom object, nothing else. Okay, so I'm using that the default implementation, so this will do a cloning of this object. Okay, so you are implementing the clone method, and then we are overriding the toString because I wanted to print the value of this object, because when you don't override and when you print the object, it will print the reference, but I wanted to see the value of the object, so we need to override the toString. Now come back here, you are implementing the clonable interface. Okay, and here I will not override the clone method, but yes, I mean, if you want you can do that. clone control space bar clone. Okay, here also your return type should be of class type. Even though you don't override, compiler will do on behalf of you. The default implementations will be added automatically the moment you implement clonable. So what happens is the moment this class becomes clonable, right, you can perform clone on this object, no problem. You will not get any issue because your class became clonable, which means you can perform clone operations on the object, right? So if you look at here, what we are doing, that we are overriding the clone. Okay, and in the reference class also we are overriding the clonable. Okay, now three fields we have in this class, and all the three fields will get initialized through the parameterized constructor, and then we have a getter and setter to access these fields because these fields are private in nature. And then we are overriding the toString just because I wanted to print the value for the object, right? So you can see that ij will come from the parent one, and then it will give you the employee. Again, when this employee object will get called, finally what we'll do on this employee object, this toString will get called, so your name and age will get printed. Okay, now once you have that, we are creating the object of hash set, and this guy again, the hash set will take a custom object, right? The clone with reference 5, which is nothing but of class type, and you can store only this object because you have only parameterized constructor. You don't have default constructor here, so you cannot make the object of default one, right? So I have made the object of hash set, and then I'm adding one record. So you can look at here, I'm adding one record. So I'm knowing that new and then object of this class, which will take I and j, and then internally it will take one more object which is nothing but of type employee. So again I have to make one more object of employee test local, which will take name and age. So test and 30. Now Here we need to have a deep copy. You know that by default hasset will give you shallow copy. When you just do original.clone, it will give you a shallow copy, but I need a deep copy. When I need a deep copy, I need to create a fresh object for the hasset. Okay, I need to create the fresh object for the hasset, and then on the original one I will run an iterator. So when I will run the iterator on the original object, the iterator return type will be of iterator of custom object, right? Iterator of custom object, and you know that you have a method on this iterator, you have a method called hasNext. So it will check whether your hasset has a data or not. If yes, then look at here, two things will happen. This is very important, focus now. So when you are running a loop, basically one by one your iterator will fetch the data one by one. Okay, this next method, what it will do, it will fetch the object one by one and it will move the pointer to the next data. So it will fetch the object. When you are fetching the record from the hasset, which is of type clone with reference 5, what I want, I don't want original one, I want the cloned one. So I got a cloned one. So when I will get a cloned one, the return type of the clone method is the object. So what I need to do, I need to cast this object back to my custom object, because I need a custom object, I don't want object. So once I got the custom object, I have given a reference is equal to next. So you can remove this, and automatically when you place mouse over here and when you click on create local variable, you will get the same type. Okay, now you got the next. So your main object got cloned. Okay, your main, this, you got one cloned copy, right? Now what you want inside this next, okay, you have in this next, if you'll go, what you are doing here is you are setting the employee in this object, in this custom object clone with reference 5, you are setting this employee object also. So in this object basically you are setting the employee also, right? You are setting the employee also. Now employee also, we should not use the original one, we should use the cloned one. Okay, so how this is possible, so sorry, I went to the wrong locations. So go here and look at now. So we are here now. Now what I did in this next, if I'll do a get employee, so now from the cloned copy, if I'll do a next employee, basically this will point to the original employee object. Now from that original employee, I need a clone copy. So I did a clone, right? So guys, here one more thing. Here, if you don't write clone here, okay, if you don't write clone here, still you can perform the clone on the main object, but at the runtime it will give you the exceptions. So when you don't write clone here, let's say you don't write that, and you don't implement also. Okay, so I will show you what will happen. First of all, I will show you. So when you don't implement clonable, and when you do a clone operations, you will get clone not supported exceptions, because always whenever you have a custom class and you are performing the clone operations on that class, your class should implement clonable interface. You click on this is your class, right? This is your class. Click on 73, click on that. See, this line is giving you the exceptions. Okay, when you are performing the clone, so make sure that you are implementing the clonable. Okay, you don't override clone, that is fine. If you don't do this, no problem. Now if I'll run that, it will work as it is, because even though you don't override, the default implementations will come from the parent class, no problem, right? Generally we override when we have to do some changes. Here we are not doing any changes, so no problem even though you don't override. But when your main class has a reference of any other class, this class mandatory should implement clonable, mandatory. If you will not implement here clonable, here I will tell you what will happen. So I did not implement clonable, and I will comment this clone method also. So look at here, what you will get now. You will get compile time error when you do not implement clonable, and when you don't override clone method, in your reference class you will get a compile time, and it will tell you the clone from type object is not visible. Okay, but because it is a reference class, so here it is not visible. So whenever you have a reference class, you make sure that you are overriding the clone as well as you are implementing the clonable. If you don't do that, you will get a problem. Okay. See, sometimes what happens is people, they forgot to write this. They don't write this, but they will override the clone. So you will not see compile time issue, but at the runtime, what happens? This class will throw the exceptions, clone not supported exceptions. Okay, and this is coming. If you look at here, this is coming from line number 75. So click on the 75. This internally is calling get employee, right? So there is something called line number 124 also. So click on 124. It is coming from here. Okay, so make sure that your class will be of type clonable, guys. Otherwise you will get exceptions. Now everything is done. Now on that employee, so from the cloned object I am getting the employee object. So till here, whatever employee object you will get, it will come from the original object only. Whatever original object you had here, right, it will come from there only. But since you did a clone, now it will make one copy of the original object of the employee, and I'm casting back to the employee test local because I want in my local custom class format. So I'm typecasting to the employee test local, and then on this next, whatever a cloned copy got from the original one, in that I am setting the employee to the cloned one now. So cloned, in the cloned main object, I am setting the employee test also as a clone object. So right, so now this whatever next you have now, this is complete clone now. It has no original reference because you did a clone on the employee test also, you did a clone on the original object also. So now you have a complete clone. Employee you did here, set employee, and then whatever you had this fresh copy, whatever you have made the fresh object of the hash set, you are adding one by one. You are adding one by one. So also, if you want to understand now, in previous example, if you look at that, the address was hash code was same. So here, if you will print the hash code, which is nothing but the address of your object, right, you can see that the hash code will be different. The moment hash code is different, all story is over. See, look at here, two different hash code. Okay, and this I am printing that cloned and original. Yes, both have same data. Then what happened here is we went ahead and we ran a for each loop. We modified the cloned one. When we modified the cloned one, you can see that original has no impact. Only cloned got modified. 2030 name clone and age 300. Still the original name is equal to test and age is equal to 30. Then I went ahead and modified the original one. When I modified the original one, then you can see that my original got modified, it became original, right? But my clone one has no impact, it is still the clone 300 which was here. Okay, so you can see that by like this you can implement the deep copy of the hash set, right? This is not the default implementation, this is the custom implementation. So guys, we have covered all the concept. Deep copy, shallow copy of the reference type, of the primitive data type. We have covered everything. Now whatever you learned till today in this cloning concept, this is applicable for all collection classes. Okay, so if somebody will ask you the same concept in the array list or linked list or some other things, please tell the same answer. Everything will work same way. Thank you guys, thank you for watching this.